Ever since The Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars has had a history of announcing multiple movies, shows, or games that experience some form of trouble before or during development that lead them to being quietly shelved or even cancelled. The most well-known of these would probably be the Rogue Squadron movie by Patty Jenkins, which after being announced at Disney Investors Day in 2020, has recently been shelved and removed from Disney's upcoming theatrical release slate. It's unclear why exactly this has happened, but we know production and the writing process have not followed the initial timeline that would have had the film premiering in theaters next December. And there are plenty of other examples of announced projects suffering the same fate. Rangers of the New Republic, a series set around the same time as The Mandalorian, has not received any updates since it was first announced, partially due to controversy regarding Gina Carano, who was supposedly set to have a lead role in the series. Both Lando and A Droid Story were also announced back in 2020, and while there have been some reports regarding Lando, Lucasfilm has yet to give any update on either series. Films by Rian Johnson, Taika Waititi, Kevin Feige, and more have also been announced in the past few years. Even though that news about them has all been relatively quiet, we know that Rian Johnson is still on board for his trilogy of films once he has the time, and Taika is looking for a story that he wants to tell in his. I haven't even mentioned the countless delays that we've seen recently, which includes Andor, The Bad Batch Season 2, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, Eclipse, and a few books. As fans, these delays make it hard to get excited for upcoming stories when we know that they can be delayed less than a month before they're set to release. With the Disney Plus series all being pushed back, The Mandalorian Season 3, which was initially set to premiere in February, will likely get pushed back as well, possibly as far as April or May. We've dealt with this problem for a while now, and it looks like we may now be getting to experience the other side of the coin. According to industry insider Matthew Belloni of Puck, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy was advised by Disney to stop announcing projects and creative partners. The reasoning for the blockage comes down to media management, an effort to prevent fans and press from further tackling Lucasfilm, following the cancellation of a slew of projects in recent years. The report mentions the Rogue Squadron announcement video by Patty Jenkins and exciting press releases for Rian Johnson and D.B. Weiss and David Benioff's respective trilogies as examples of Star Wars hype falling flat, an issue Disney is reportedly attempting to avoid. The move makes sense, especially with 2023 set to be packed full of stories like Ahsoka, Visions, Bad Batch, The Mandalorian, Jedi Survivor, and possibly Young Jedi Adventures and Skeleton Crew. With fans getting so many more stories than we're used to, there isn't as big of a need to fill social media with buzz regarding a recent announcement. It's better to wait until the production is actually confirmed and started to announce the project, rather than jump the gun and end up having to cancel a highly anticipated show. Lando was one of my most anticipated series coming out of Investors Day, and while I've enjoyed a lot of what we've gotten since then, the uncertainty surrounding the show still concerns me. We've also gotten a little piece of news regarding one of the upcoming films previously announced by Lucasfilm. According to Deadline, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy will be directing Damon Lindelof's Star Wars movie. Obaid-Chinoy was most recently in the director's chair for Marvel Studios' Ms. Marvel Disney Plus series, in which she directed the Pakistani set episodes 4 and 5. Lindelof is said to be penning the project with an unknown co-writer. The script is still in development, with production likely a long time out, but Lucasfilm and Lindelof sought out a director early to incorporate Obaid-Chinoy's vision for the film into the story's screenplay. It's obviously still very early in the pre-production process, so just like with everything that I mentioned before, the fate of this film is still uncertain, but the news of a director being brought on board makes it a little more likely that we'll get the film within the next decade. I also very much enjoyed the Ms. Marvel series, and am a fan of Obaid-Chinoy's work. The Hollywood Reporter later added to the report with their own regarding the upcoming film. Sources tell them that the movie is intended to be a standalone project, and that it could lead to other stories, which goes against what Lucasfilm has planned out in recent years. It's also said to take place after The Rise of Skywalker, and it could even feature some of the characters that starred in the sequels. Even though there's a section of the fandom that wants nothing to do with the sequels anymore, it's only a matter of time until the era is fleshed out and more stories are told before, during, and after the events that we see in the movies. It's been done with the prequels and the originals, so it makes sense that Lucasfilm would return to the sequels a few years later, after the trilogy has wrapped up, to build upon the characters and flesh out some of the unexplained concepts, like Palpatine, the New Republic, or the fall of the First Order. Even though it looks like it could be a while out, if this film is indeed set after the Rise of Skywalker, this may become one of my most anticipated Star Wars stories once it's officially confirmed. Let me know what your thoughts on these reports are in the comments below. Remember to like the video and subscribe for even more news like this, as well as reviews, breakdowns, lore deep dives, and more. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And thank you all for watching. And remember, the Force will be with you, always.